Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Top to Bottom. In today's video, we are going to be looking at NF's new album, The Search. This album just dropped, I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago. Oh my god, I'm actually doing a Top to Bottom episode of a new album and not one that came out in 2012. You know how the series goes. We take every single song from the worst to the best, and I rank them in order in my own opinion. And then at the end of the video, I will give you guys a score of the overall album and just a brief overview as to what I thought. But anyway, at the number 18 spot, we're gonna go with No Excuses. This song is utter trash. This is my least favorite song on the album. It wasn't even close. Like, there was very little that I could say that I liked about this song. Reading over my notes here, I wrote that it's the worst song on the album. It is incredibly boring. It brings forward that typical NF flow that I have heard so many times in his previous albums. The song is complete filler, or at least it sounds like that. There's simply just nothing interesting or new about this track. It's just a track that's there to fill up time. There's nothing really interesting about it, and it's easily the worst song on the album. The song sounds lazy and sleepy, as if Nate didn't even want to record it, and personally, I just feel it shouldn't even have been on the album, cause this is not what we're looking for from Nathan. In the number 17 spot, I'm going to put Options, another terrible track. I mean, again, there's very little positive things I can say about this. The hook is just absolutely terrible. The overall track is just super bland, and the beat is just way too basic. Nothing interesting about it. I guess the only good thing I could say about this track is that Nathan's flow, it is listenable. It's not a really terrible flow. On No Excuses, it's just a flow that I've heard so many times that I just simply can't listen to it anymore. On No Excuses, there was nothing interesting about his flow, but on Options, it's at least somewhat listenable, so it didn't warrant the number 1 spot on the worst song on this album by far. In the number 16 spot, I have Let Me Go. This song suffers in the same way that the other tracks suffer that I've mentioned so far. For one, it's a boring track. There are these weird refrains at some points of the song that are just atrocious. They just sound so bad. They sound badly mixed. I mean, I don't know, they fucking sound horrible, and they completely take me out of the atmosphere that the song is trying to portray. These weird vocals coming in, no, I mean, what were you trying to do with that? If this song comes up, I'm skipping it, and like the other songs, it sounds like filler. It sounds like something that he just put there to fill up track time. In the number 15 spot, I have Change. I am not a huge fan of this song. Again, like the other tracks, suffers from the fact that it's boring, but more importantly than that, I feel like it was just way too much of a change of pace too quickly. It's the 3rd song on the album, and it comes off the heels of a song like Leave Me Alone, a song that is so aggressive and so hard-hitting, and then it goes into Change, which is just a complete change of pace. And don't even give me the excuse that it's a breather track. It's the 3rd song on the album. I don't need a breather yet, okay? I want NF to keep going hard. This was not the place to put this song. Maybe by itself, in a vacuum, I could bear the track, but there's also one thing that I really dislike about this. And that is that on the hook, it sounds like he's on his Billie Eilish shit. And not that there's anything wrong with Billie Eilish. I've made videos in the past. I think I have one video talking about Billie Eilish's album that came out a while ago, and I actually quite enjoyed it. However, this sounds like really basic Billie Eilish. That hook is just so bad to me. I mean, every time I listen to it, I just kind of cringe a little bit because it just sounds like the biggest Billie Eilish ripoff I have ever heard. This really bassy beat comes in that reminds me of You Should See Me in a Crown, with NF delivering some vocals that go, change. Again, as I said, in a vacuum, outside of the album, maybe I could enjoy the track a little bit, but the hook is just obnoxious as fuck. In the number 14 spot, I have Thinking. This song maybe isn't nearly as bad as the rest of them. It has an okay beat. However, the hook is just extremely generic and just dumb. Nate revolved an entire hook around thinking. Damn, you're so fucking woke. You're like Jaden Smith 2.0. The hook on this thing is just boring as fuck. You literally made a hook about thinking. I mean, I'm thinking, what the fuck were you thinking? Another point that I want to add is that maybe his flow on this song isn't terrible. However, we've heard this flow a good few times on this album at this point. This song is one of the last songs on the entire album, and the flow is just kind of boring at this point. I really wish he would have kept up with changing it up from time to time, rather than just sticking to this flow that he's done throughout the album a good few times. I mean, he really could have done something a lot more interesting with this track. I'm not saying that this flow is bad, I'm just saying that at this point in the album, you should still try something new. And overall, because this song is so similar to the other ones in terms of flow, I just skip it because it doesn't offer anything new to me at that point in the album. In the number 13 spot, I have I Miss the Days. I guess the only real tough critique I have about the song is that the hook is super generic. I mean, just the most basic hook I could imagine. It just reminds me of 21 Pilots' Stressed Out, and that is not something you want to remind me about. However, it's not all bad. Overall, it is a decent sounding song. At least sonically, it's quite appealing. I could take or leave the verses. They're nothing special, but they're nothing horrible that I can't listen to. And the vocals towards the end of the song are actually very enjoyable. In the number 12 spot, I have Returns. This is probably the most middle of the pack song. I mean, when you talk about songs that I don't dislike versus songs that I don't like, this falls just perfectly in the middle. There's not very much I can say about this track. It has a nice beat, the flows are okay. It's a really rippity rap song. He's really going at it from a technical standpoint on this song. He's trying to show off his ability as a rapper, which isn't bad whatsoever. I don't mind that at all. I can actually really appreciate that because I do like some rappity rap. Nothing truly special about the track, but nothing truly horrible. It's just kind of an average track, but I can definitely listen to it. In the 11th spot, I have Why. I remember when this song originally dropped as a single, and I definitely appreciated the fact that NF was experimenting with new flows. I liked that he sounded different, that he wasn't just going back to the same old styles that he was doing on his other projects that today I am a little bit burnt out of. I am definitely happy that he was trying out different flows, definitely not sticking to the same sound, because that is exactly what I didn't want from this album. That is the thing that I was most worried about, is that he was going to stick to the same sounds and that I was going to get burnt out of it very quickly. For NF, it is very nice experimentation. Although, I can't lie, the first time I heard this song, I just thought he was on his Drake shit. There were points where I was like, damn, he's really, really sounding like Drake. In terms of his flow, not in terms of his vocals. The one caveat I guess I kind of have against this song is that at small points in the track, he does sound a little bit whiny. There are some moments where I just feel like he sounds a little bit annoying. The points in the song where he goes, why? Just tell me why. Now back to this flow. It kind of puts me to sleep a little bit. However, it's a very, very small part of the overall song, and it definitely is a great track. The imagery in this song is pretty incredible as well. Him talking about entering a room and giving off that I do not belong here vibe. Why do y'all look mortified? Let's go for a ride. I mean, it's pretty dope shit. In the number 10 spot, I have Like This, and this is the first song that I don't have much to say, but I don't have anything negative to say. All I can really say is that the verses are really nice, the flows are very nice, and the hook is very atmospheric in a very good way. In the number 9 spot, we have Hate Myself. This song is great. It has a very fast-paced and upbeat sounding instrumental, and that's saying a lot considering that the song is actually very depressing. What NF is actually saying in the song versus how the song sounds at times complement each other very well. And on top of what NF is actually saying, it's also how he's delivering these lines. The flow is very upbeat, as I said, and very fast-paced, but NF almost sounds slow in comparison. He sounds a lot more low-key, and I think it works great. This song is extremely emotional. I almost feel worried for Nate at times. It has this very hopeless atmosphere, and at certain points in the track, it gets suicidal. It's a tough track to take down, but it's fantastic. I love it. In the number 8 spot, I have Only. I really like this song because of the amount of passion that NF brings to the table here. Sasha Sloan, or however you pronounce her name because I've never heard of her before this album, her vocals are very pretty, and speaking of vocals, Nate delivers a fantastic flow on this track. I feel like his flow almost outpaces the beat in terms of energy, but in a great way. Also, there are some very nice guitars in the background of the instrumental, which sound great. They really add to the track. In the number 7 spot, I'm going to put When I Grow Up. This was one of my favorite singles that dropped from the album. In terms of flow, it has fantastic flows. The beat is hard-hitting, aggressive, it pumps me up. The wordplay on this track, I feel, is some of NF's best wordplay ever. I also find that this track can be very relatable to dream chasers, people who are out trying to do something out of the norm and they're constantly beat down by others telling them that they're never going to be able to do it. I find it very motivational in that sense because I'm always trying to do something different compared to other people. I don't want to put myself too high on a pedestal, but I wouldn't say that the route I'm taking is a traditional route. But one last point I want to add to this song is that it sounds unhinged and insane. Nate sounds hungry for success to the point where it's kind of scary. He sounds a little cuckoo, but I think it adds to the energy of the track considering that the instrumental is so aggressive. And it also seems that Nate is trying to go at that sort of angle, the more mentally deranged sort of personality, considering the lead-up videos to this album in the singles. In the 6th spot, I have Nate. I like this track for its rawness and how real it sounds. It has this extremely chilling hook, and to me personally, I find the song to be very, very relatable. In terms of the things that I've dealt with in my own life, of how I've been beat down so many times, the traumas that I've been through, and the things that have affected me throughout my life. But if we push that over to the side a little bit, it also has this amazing storytelling like structure. Basically, in this song, Nate is talking to a younger version of himself, telling him all of the horrible things that are going to happen in his life, but he should look at it as a positive because they're going to build him up. Oh my god, I love that message so much because I'm all about that. I'm all about going through struggles and learning from those struggles and moving past them and becoming stronger. It almost sounds like a song that I could envision myself making for myself when I was like 16 years old once I'm like 25. In the number 5 spot, I have Leave Me Alone. I love some of the off-the-wall delivery on this track. It just sounds insane for NF. This song is aggressive, confrontational, and Nate is spazzing the fuck out on this song, and it sounds like he's losing his mind, especially on the hook with the aggressive screams of "Leave me alone." He is simultaneously aggressive while telling other people to be quiet. Quiet, 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 quiet. In the number 4 spot, I have Trauma. This song has some beautiful pianos in the background, some very, very nice vocals from NF. It takes on this very sad and crushed and just destroyed angle, which I can totally understand and sympathize with NF on. Throughout this entire album, he's been talking about a lot of things that have been fucking up his entire life. So taking this more destroyed, exhausted approach really makes sense, especially because this is the last actual track on the album. There is one track after this, which is Time, but we have seen that before in the album as an extended version. This is the truly final track on the album, and I thought it was a perfect way to end the album off with a more subtle sounding, crushed approach. It sort of signifies the fact that the album is now gonna be at its resting point. And even though at times this song sounds generic, and I know that I'm saying something kind of negative towards a song that is so close to the number 1 spot, but even though it sounds generic, that is not a bad thing whatsoever. I think it is completely acceptable for this song to sound generic because it's the last song on the album, and so he's destroyed. He doesn't want to come up with something new. He just wants to put out something simple and basic that works, and it is still so enjoyable regardless of those factors. In the number 3 spot, I have My Stress. Considering how close this is to the number 1 spot, I have very little to say about this song besides the fact that this sounds like NF is on his Post Malone shit, which isn't a bad thing whatsoever because I like Post Malone's music. I think Post Malone makes great music, but sometimes I can just close my eyes, listen to the track, and I almost forget that I'm listening to NF for a moment because it sounds so much like Post Malone at times, especially on the hook, which is easily the best part about this track. The verses are great, but the hook is so infectious. One of the catchiest hooks NF has ever written, and it's one of my favorite songs he's ever written, period. And finally, we're at the number 2 spot, where this is going to reveal the full list. At the number 2 spot, and you guys are probably going to be mad at me because this is not at the number 1 spot, and honestly, it's really difficult because at times the number 1 spot and the number 2 spot on this album really switch up. Sometimes I'll feel like it's this song, but sometimes I'll feel like it's the other song. It just goes on a hour by hour thing. It's down between The Search and Time. It really depends what mood I'm in. If I want to listen to something a little bit more soft, a little more emotional, I will listen to Time, and that will be my number 1. But if I want to go for something super aggressive, hard-hitting, just bombastic, I'll listen to The Search. So with that being said, at the number 2 spot, I'm going to be putting The Search. Oh my god. This was such a perfect way to start off the album. The song just starts off so quiet compared to the rest of the track. It just sounds so low-key, and then all of a sudden, the beat disappears, and NF goes, "Oh, where'd the beat go?" And then all of a sudden, these drums come in super loud, super abrasive, and NF is on top of his game at the start of this verse. "Oh, ain't that something? Drums came in, you ain't see that coming." It is a perfect start. It is explosive. The flows on this song are insane. While still being completely NF, he has brought something new to the table, which I was so happy about because that's what I wanted from this album. I wanted some new flows, some new production, and he really brought that through while still being NF. And I gotta kind of admit it, on this song, he's kind of on his Eminem shit. He's really going hard on this track. He's so aggressive, and he's rhyming like a fucking madman. I don't know what else I can say about the track, but it just peels a smile back on my face every time I hear that beat drop at the start of the track. And finally, at the number 1 spot, you guys already know what it is. It is Time. As I said, number 1 and 2, they switch all the time. Sometimes I might feel The Search is at number 1, and sometimes I'll feel that Time is at number 1. It really just depends what mood I'm in. You could put either or there. But generally speaking, Time is my favorite track on the album. It was my favorite single that was released from the album as well. When I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is one of my favorite NF songs ever. I mean, there's really a lot of fantastic NF songs, but Time is definitely up there with some of NF's best songs ever. NF's vocals on this track are just beautiful. His singing is just so nice. And the way I can really wrap up the way I see this song is just, it's such a healthy way to look at a relationship. The song is about relationships, but I think it's just such a healthy way to look at relationships. You know, even if you both break down at night and you say that you hate each other and you go to bed angry, it's okay because you guys will get through it together. I think that's a great mentality to have in a relationship. Don't lie to yourself and tell yourself that everything's going to be perfect, everything is just going to be flowers and daisies and we're going to be all lovey-dovey forever. No, acknowledge that you guys are going to have your issues, but it's not about the issues themselves, it's about how you overcome those issues. And I think that's, again, just such a healthy way to look at a relationship. Overall, the entire song is just beautiful with what I believe to be a violin in the background at some points. It is truly a goosebump-inducing track. And at this current point in time, it's my favorite on the album. I mean, holy crap. What a fantastic song. That is the entire list. And ultimately, what do I think about this album? I might say that this is NF's best album yet. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of tracks on this that I don't like or that I don't very much care for. However, on this album, I truly do believe NF has some of his greatest moments ever. While there were tracks on here that I thought were very, very underwhelming, I would say about a third of the track list I find underwhelming, which would conclude you to believe that it's about a 6.66 out of 10 for me. I feel like I'm gonna bump that up a little bit. I was considering just giving it a 6. However, I want to bump it up. I don't want to leave it at a 6 because that doesn't feel right with me. I didn't feel like that was a justifiable score because the bad tracks were there. However, some of NF's greatest moments throughout his entire career were on this album, and they really push it up. So instead of going for that lower number, I'm going to settle for a 7 out of 10. I think this album was pretty great. It was absolutely not a perfect album. There were songs on there that I simply cannot listen to. About a third of the album, but man, the good moments on the album vastly outshine the bad moments. And ultimately, I think the overall album is great. There's not much more I can say about the album. Overall, I'm very happy with it. I'm so happy that I enjoyed this album because it had been a long fucking time since I was listening to NF. I was listening to NF back like a year ago. It's probably almost a year since I've listened to him very hard. And so I was pumped up for this album. I was thinking, you know, some NF, haven't listened to him in a while, and I was looking forward to what he had to bring, and I'm very happy to say that I am satisfied with the project that he delivered. But anyway, guys, those have been my thoughts on the new NF album, The Search, top to bottom, finished. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna wrap this video up here. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you smack the like button. If you want to stay up to date with my content, please be sure to subscribe. I'll have my last video in the corner. If you haven't checked that out already, definitely make sure to check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.